You're watching News 25. Local coverage you can count on. News 25 is brought to you by J.K. Nelson Law, voted best of Pahrump for 4 years. Give them a call, 775-727-9900. News 25 is also brought to you by Gunny's Air Conditioning and Heating. New, service, and repair. Call Gunny's, 775-727-6800.
Welcome to this edition of News 25. I'm Unette Gentry. Thanks for joining us here on Ace Country Radio. And we're also streaming at KPVM.TV. We're also on your Roku devices. It is Tuesday, May 20th. In our top story, Nye County Justice of the Peace Michelle Fiore remains suspended from the bench. The Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline issued that decision on Monday, ruling that her conduct reportedly presents a threat to the public. News 25 has more on this story.
Nye County Justice of the Peace Michelle Fiore will remain suspended from the bench according to a decision made on Monday, May 19th by the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline. The ruling modifies her suspension by reinstating her $90,000 annual salary, which had been revoked following her October 2024 federal conviction on wire fraud charges. In April of this year, President Donald Trump issued a full pardon ending the criminal case against her. After receiving the pardon, Fiore stated her intention to return to the bench, but has not resumed her duties. A hearing was held on May 2nd, which Fiore's attorney, Paola Armani, argued her reinstatement.
This was an unconditional full pardon by the President of the United States, who exercised his authority pursuant to our United States Constitution. I submit to this commission, and I want to read a quote. Quote, "The commission only has jurisdiction over misconduct committed while serving as a judge. Therefore, the commission could not pursue alleged infractions committed in a previous capacity." End quote. This was an official statement by the Judicial Discipline Commission back on June 19th of 2019 to the Nevada Current, when asked whether the Judicial Commission would take action against some judges that were former prosecutors and their behavior while they were a prosecutor. So why is this important? Because the 6-month period that is subject to all the documents that you have received that are supposed to be important to this matter today are based on conduct that occurred July 2019 through February of 2020, a 6-month period. At that time, Michelle Fiore was an elected political official, and as we know, political officials are not subjected to the judicial rules of the judicial canons. The judicial canons would not have applied to Michelle Fiore in July of 2019 and February of 2020. There is nothing before this commission about her conduct as a judge.
The panel stated it cannot penalize Fiore for the pardon conviction, but it can still consider related conduct in determining whether she violated the Nevada Code of Judicial Conduct. The commission cited evidence that Fiore continued to retain funds donated under false pretenses after assuming judicial office and failed to notify donors about the personal use of their contributions. The panel concluded that her conduct presented an ongoing threat to public confidence in the judiciary. Fiore now remains suspended with pay while the commission reviews additional complaints and considers further disciplinary action. News 25 will continue to follow this story as it develops. I am Rory Rossell reporting for News 25.
And a legislative breakthrough takes place in Washington, D.C. concerning cyberbullying. Our News 25 Las Vegas correspondent Maria Centers joins us now with more details.
In a historic move, the Take It Down Act was just signed into law by U.S. President Donald J. Trump, marking a major milestone spearheaded by First Lady Melania Trump in the fight against digital exploitation. The First Lady initially began working on the protective legislation during her first presidential term. Here's some top soundbite highlights from the bill signing ceremony that recently took place at the White House.
As First Lady, my Be Best initiative is focused on improving children's well-being, encouraging kindness, and creating a safer online environment for our youth.
The Take It Down Act has been a top priority within the double First Lady's Be Best initiative that vies to safeguard children and families against online extortion and exploitation.
Today, I'm proud to say that the values of Be Best will be reflected in the law of the land. I want to thank my husband, President Trump, for standing with us on this effort.
The landmark bipartisan bill swiftly passed U.S. Congress within the first 100 days of the second Donald J. Trump presidential administration.
His signature on this new law is not where our work ends on this issue. Now we look to the Federal Trade Commission and the private sector to do their part.
The signing ceremony held in the Rose Garden was attended by survivors and their families, governmental delegates, and advocates, among others.
Today, through the Take It Down Act, we affirm that the well-being of our children is central to our future of our families and America.
Working with our First Lady, though, we've shown that bipartisanship is possible. I mean, it's the first time I've seen such a level of bipartisanship, and it's a beautiful thing. I want to thank you, honey. You've done amazing that this was done when you started, and I said, I don't know, it sounds like a tough one, and yet a very important one, and you got it done.
The bill passed the U.S. House by a 409-2 vote in April, after unanimously clearing the U.S. Senate back in February. Reporting from Clark County, I'm Maria Centers for News 25 Las Vegas.
And turning now to sports, the Las Vegas Aces are currently leading their opponents in Connecticut. Mikey Ruhan is here now with all of those baskets, scores, and run in our sports report.
Time now for your News 25 look at sports, and streaming at KPVM.TV and now on Roku devices. The Las Vegas Raiders have finalized their 2025 preseason schedule. Head coach Pete Carroll and the team opened preseason on the road against his former team, the Seattle Seahawks, on Thursday, August 7th. Las Vegas returns to Allegiant for their only preseason home game against the San Francisco 49ers on Saturday, August 16th. The preseason concludes on the road on Saturday, August 23rd against the Arizona Cardinals. The Las Vegas Aviators will be back in action as they head to Texas to take on the Sugar Land Space Cowboys. The Pahrump Valley Trojans Softball Awards kick off tonight. The ceremony starts at 7:30 p.m. And the Las Vegas Aces are looking to pick up their first win of the season against the Connecticut Sun. That game is in progress. And that's your look at sports on News 25.
Sorry, I'm distracted by the Aces because they're up 52-29. More on that and more news after the break.
You're watching News 25. Local coverage you can count on.
Welcome back to News 25. Well, longtime Pahrump resident known for having tigers, Carl Mitchell, appears in court today to petition for the return of those tigers, which were seized earlier this year.
Today, May 20th, Carl Mitchell and his counsel, J.K. Nelson, petitioned the Nye County District Court for return of the seized tigers. According to documents filed in the petition, the county and state violated Mitchell's due process rights, American with Disability Act rights, as well as his right to his property when they kidnapped the tigers.
The state proceeded, and I rarely see it gassed up, to bring in all guns blazing, SWAT band, everybody neared up as though this was a DEA drug bust for a gentleman who has a property crime over 20 years ago, had never been a threat or anything to this community. And they just kind of rolled in, injuring my client at the time, and proceeded. The state's argument in their last minute filed opposition, which I don't know if your honors had a chance to review.
I have.
The state proceeds to say, well, they were being maltreated. We had a vet from out of state there. A lot of things were done to justify these actions.
During the hearing, Carl's attorney stated that in 2017, the county attempted to say Mitchell did not have the right clearance to have the tigers. Carl then had to take the case to federal court.
But the reality is, back in 2017, the county had attempted to try these similar games, say Mr. Mitchell did not have the right clearance for those animals. He had to take it all the way up to federal court, at which point in time, the federal court said, yeah, if it's properly recognized ESA, emotional support animal, he does not need the conditional use permit. And the county, they lost. This time they came back and they're using the guise of this search warrant to justify the taking of this property.
According to Judge Wonker, the petition failed to cite the provisions of the ADA violations as well as the violation claim of the Fair Housing Act.
That was in your pleading, you allege ADA violations, but you don't cite to any provisions of the ADA that were violated. And you also claim that it's a violation of the Fair Housing Act. But once again, nothing cited to where you think the violation is, how you think the violation.
The state claims that the court's hands are tied because the animals were taken by the feds and that an out-of-state vet claimed that the tigers experienced animal cruelty.
This court's hands are tied because the feds have taken custody of these animals. This Ms. Sweeling, this vet, says, in these regards, it is my professional opinion that these tigers were subjected to animal cruelty.
A new court date has been set for June 24th to allow Mitchell and his attorney time to respond to the state's last-minute filing and provide additional information about the said violations and determine if the ADA and the FHA trump the requirements of a conditional use permit.
Health tips and much more news you can use after this break.
You're watching News 25. Local coverage you can count on. News 25 is brought to you by Mountain West Lawyer, Injury Attorneys, 727-9500.
Welcome back. Well, as we continue this Electrical Safety Month, Valley Electric Association is shedding some light on safety tips for kids. That's why we're about to hear from CFL Charlie and LED Lucy.
This segment of News 25 is brought to you by Valley Electric and its family of companies focused on serving our members. We're better together.
CFL Charlie here, and welcome to ESN, the Energy Safety Network. Our top story tonight, overworked outlets. For more, we go to LED Lucy at the scene.
Thanks, Charlie. I'm here in the living room where we have an overloaded electrical outlet. To stay safe, avoid plugging too many things into one socket. Also, watch for cords and cables like this strewn across your floor. Keep them neat and keep an eye out. You could trip or pull the outlet out of the wall. Back to you, Charlie.
Great stuff, Lucy. This just in, breaking news on Breaking Bad energy habits, electricity, and water. In the bathroom or kitchen, keep straighteners, dryers, and appliances away from water, and avoid leaving drinks near computers, TVs, or gaming systems. One spill could cause a fire or shock. And always remember, ask your parents for help when working with electricity. Well, that's it for us here at the Energy Safety Network. Stay in the know with electricity and stay safe. Explore more at kidsenergyzone.com.
And in today's health news, we're reminding you that May is also Osteoporosis Awareness Month. More than 50 million people in the U.S. have osteoporosis, which is a condition that weakens bones and puts people at risk for injury. But the good news is that it is largely preventable.
Today's health report is brought to you by Desert View Hospital. When you or a loved one needs medical attention, Desert View Hospital is ready to help. We've been providing friendly and compassionate care to our neighbors since 2006, including emergency services available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Visit desertviewhospital.com to learn more. With limited exceptions, physicians are not employees or agents of this hospital.
Once you've sustained a fracture related to osteoporosis, your chances of having a second one are 10 times higher. So even with all the advances of medications that we have these days, it's really hard to reverse the process. You can stabilize it and get a little bit of the bone strength back, but you really, prevention really is the key in this disease.
Dr. Deborah Benzel is a neurosurgeon with Cleveland Clinic. She says when it comes to preventing osteoporosis, exercise plays a big role. It doesn't have to be anything too major. There are plenty of activities you can do this summer to stay active and help with bone strength. Some ideas include gardening, going for a walk, catching up with your kids, grandkids, or swimming or even taking a walk to the pool. Dr. Benzel also says you should walk up and down the aisles at the grocery store or do some laps at the mall.
With osteoporosis, the exercises that we need are what we call weight-bearing exercises. So while it's great to do exercises when you're on your back or sitting in a chair, they can build strength, but they're not going to be helping with bone health and bone strength. So what we really need to do are things where you are actually creating a little bit of trauma, a little bit of pressure on your legs so that you can promote bone strength.
News 25 WeatherCam is brought to you by Lerner and Rowe Injury Attorney's Office in Pahrump. In a wreck, need a check? Call 702-877-1500.
Let's look through our Lerner and Rowe weather cam on this beautiful May day, and not a cloud in the sky in that direction as we look toward the mountains surrounding the area. We'll take a closer look at the weather and temperatures after this break.
Weather is sponsored by the Nevada Dairy Farmers and the Dairy Council of Nevada, sharing the love of all things dairy. Celebrate the best moments with milk. Milk the moment. And the weather is also brought to you by the Ponderosa Dairy, Nevada's largest dairy, fresh from our farm to your table.
Well, good evening, Nevada. My name is Rory Rossell, coming to you from the Channel 25 Weather Studios and taking a look at Nevada right now. Up in northern Nevada, Fernley is seeing 81 degrees, Fallon is seeing 82, Carson City is at 78, Tonopah is at 77, Goldfield is at 80 degrees, Beatty's at 89, Amargosa is at 94 degrees, Las Vegas 1 degree lower at 93 degrees, and Death Valley is at 105 degrees today. But here in the beautiful Paradise Pahrump, we are seeing some pretty high temperatures today too. 90 degrees currently. The high today was 92 with sunny skies. The wind was blowing south at 9 miles per hour. Humidity 10% today, and the sun rose this morning at 5:33 and is setting tonight at 7:47 p.m. The humidity raises up to 16% tonight, and the wind continues to blow east-southeast at 7 miles per hour. The low tonight is going to be 63 degrees. Let's take a look at our 7-day forecast. We're seeing 90s throughout the next 7 days once again. Tomorrow is going to be 96, 97 on Thursday, down to 93 on Friday, with 19 mile per hour wind speeds, up to 94 on Saturday, 98 on Sunday, 97 on Monday, and on Tuesday, 93 degrees. So that's going to be it. Make sure not to get sunburned because I'm already starting to burn. Back to the desk. Here's Unette.
Thanks so much. And as we close tonight, we're cheersing to a Hollywood legend who has gone permanently to where everyone knows his name. We are saying condolences to the friends, fans, and loved ones of George Wendt, who played Norm on the iconic sitcom Cheers. He passed at his home today at the age of 76. Cheers, Norm. Well, that does it for this edition of News 25. I'm Unette Gentry, and from all of us here at KPVM and Ace Country Radio, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the air next newscast. Good night.